So in our last video, we talked about Supernatural, Sam and Dean, and their character arc. In this video, we're going to talk about plot. Now, plot is basically the vehicle that carries your character from one part of their arc to the other. So it's baby if we're talking about Supernatural. So when a character needs to change, something around them has to basically create a melting pot, if you will, for them to have to challenge their beliefs and their actions, and has to propel them forward in this arc. Now, the way a plot does that is we have a problem and we have conflict. So if we go back to Supernatural, in season 1, our problem is Dad's gone. We don't know where he is, but he's a hunter, so he's probably in a lot of trouble. Now that is our problem that the boys work all season long to try and fix. And it's the main conflict that they are trying to solve. It's the number one priority. It's going to be the one thing that really challenges their beliefs, their perspective on each other, on themselves, on their dad, on the world. And they really have to solve this particular idea, right? Now, in order to get to that problem and solve that problem, we have to have mini conflicts. And sometimes they're bigger conflicts, right? And that's going to be like each episode has its own story. It has its own little mini character arc, its own mini plot that will build up towards the crisis, right? So especially in season 1, it's really interesting because it kind of breaks it down. Each episode, they're facing a new monster, basically. And the structure of the show shifts a little bit after season, I think it's season 2, where things start kind of, we have more investment and playing up of the higher problem, and the overarching story. But in season 1, you just have many episodes of the brothers dealing with all kinds of different monsters, and we really get to see the full breadth and depth of their capabilities as hunters and what basically the rest of their lives were like. Now, with the plot, you have a series of conflicts that allows them to challenge their idea of themselves, of each other, and of the problem that they're trying to deal with through season 1. John's disappearance is up here, apparently, so anytime I go like this, it's probably going to be referencing, John being gone, right? So, this is just how my brain works. So with each conflict, the point of a conflict is not just to kind of break them, but to make them reconsider something. How the world works, each other, what is going to actually happen. Now, they can have a fight, like between themselves and the bad guy. And that might challenge, oh no, maybe I'm not strong enough to kill this guy. Maybe my brother's not strong enough to kill this guy. Maybe this guy shouldn't be killed. Maybe all of our situations that have come beforehand, our skills and our tools are not enough to overcome this idea. So then they have to rethink how they're approaching the problem. And that, my friends, is the synergy between your plot / conflicts and the character arc. Because any character who just simply overcomes everything that is thrown at them without any kind of difficulty, they don't have to change. They just mow down their problems. Now, I am a huge Star Wars nerd. I love it a lot. But the main problem that I saw with the last 3 episodes was the fact, I know my dog is upset about it too, is that Rey, regardless of what she was faced with, just overcame it. Just like that. She's done. Like, no training, no difficulty really, no internal struggle that will help her change. She just stays the same and just overcomes everything just by her innate, I'm Ray. I'm worthless because my parents left me, but I'm ah, and it's just kind of weird. So the plot and isn't giving her enough conflict for her to actually internalize who she is, how she relates to the rest of the world, and how she functions in the universe and why we care. So that was a side tangent. You'll get them because that's how my brain works. But with Sam and Dean and Supernatural, you really get a lot of, yeah, we're badasses. Yeah, we can take on everything. But they also get really bloody in the process. And sometimes you're not sure how this is going to go because it's a dark enough show that you're kind of like, well, they might just die this time. Who knows? And even in that, there's going to be some conflict and there's going to be some change around them. So when you think about plot, and I have been talking about sci-fi fantasy and stuff like that, horror, sure. But it's the same thing in a romance. It's the same thing in just a regular book that has nothing fantasy about it. So if you think about Netflix, I just binged on the plane this weekend. Nobody Wants This with Kristen Bell, and Adam Brody. And with that one, it's a beautiful example as well. So they start off having the expectation of who they are and what their life is going to be like individually. And then by the end of that episode, something's a little bit different. And they're like, what just happened? Kind of a thing. And there were some conflicts, there were some fights, there were some conflicts in like a challenge to their perspective that they had to actually confront and interact with. And each episode has mini conflicts of this person said this is my past experience, and they have to interact with them and they actually have to face it and decide how they're going to handle it, right? So that's plot and that's character arc working its magic and making an incredible TV show, honestly, about two people who are just basically walking down the street and falling in love. Like that's the basic plot. And that's how character and plot interacts. And why these shows can be so magical is because you have these characters who have to challenge how they feel about themselves and about the other person and the world at large in all of the mini conflicts that they are engaging. It's the same thing with Pride and Prejudice. One of the reasons why it's such a beloved book is you have so many conflicts that each interaction that these two characters, Darcy and Elizabeth, have forces them to either just stand firm in their beliefs about themselves or the other person, or just completely turns them on their head and they have to go, wait a second, am I the wrong one? Is it possible? And their whole life is completely changed, right? That's the magic of plot based on characters. Plot that actually engages conflict, that engages the internal story and life perspective of your characters. If your plot isn't pulling that off, the plot is probably not super effective, and you've got a kind of a flatline story where it's just about the thriller. And once you have the whodunit and that, people aren't going to come back to it, right? We all know stories like that. And that's not super magical. It can be fun. It can be a great experience. But to really understand and appreciate stories and have a really stellar combination of these two things, you really have to make them work together and challenge each other so that the person is capable of challenging the plot line as well as the plot line challenging the person. So this is a long video. Thank you so much for coming along and paying attention throughout the whole thing. Let me know if there's anybody that you want me to apply character or plot to, any stories that you want to hear about, and I will see you next time. If you like and subscribe, see you next time.